Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports NFL writer. He joins the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on 97.3 ESPN. Jeff Kerr's appearance on the Sports Bash being brought to you by the expert solar team of New Jersey, here in South Jersey. EMT Solar, Roofing, and Solar Guardians. Start your solar journey today by visiting espnsolar.com. Bunch of NFL news that's happened in the last 36 hours to get with Jeff Kerr. Since the last time I talked to Jeff Kerr this week, a lot's changed, but a lot has stayed the same, including, Jeff, how surprised are you that literally nobody the Eagles waived or cut was picked up by anybody?
I'm not honestly surprised, especially when it comes to Travis Fulgham. Eagles fans were talking like this guy was really, really good, and I kept trying to tell them he hasn't had a good camp. Outside of a 5-game stretch, he's been terrible. He only had like 7 catches for 110 yards since that 5-game stretch. I mean, really, he's just another guy. And, in a way, the Eagles are kind of fortunate that he wasn't claimed, and they were able to get him back because, maybe he can provide some depth for that wide receiver group. But I'll tell you what, I think Jacksonville going after Tyron Johnson really hurt the Eagles. I think the Eagles were interested in him in some way, shape, or form. I'm not sure if they put in a claim for him. I know they were interested, but again, it's this isn't like fantasy football, Josh. As you know, waivers Jaguars could put a claim on 53 players. They'll get all 53. That's just the way it works. But they got the guys they wanted, and it's a shame, really, that the team that was 6th in the waiver wire didn't get anybody they wanted, as far as we know, and they didn't get a claim for anybody. Because they could have got Colin Johnson from Jacksonville.
Does it say something to you also, though, about, the Eagles' plans? Because Jordan Howard is on the practice squad now. We know that's a placeholder situation. That's one of those, I was telling the story earlier, anyone who's ever come down to the shore, back in the day, we used to have the person stand in the parking spot on the street to make sure you didn't lose your parking spot when you came back around the corner, the park there. I feel like that's what they're doing, the Eagles are doing. It's, hey, Jordan, stay on the practice squad till we figure out the rest of the roster, and then we'll make you a full active participant.
I feel like that's the whole league, too. Like, I know Doug Costin came back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was a surprise cut because he started games for him last year and played really well. But I think, Jacksonville told a guy like him, hey, don't go anywhere. I mean, I know you want to be on an active roster, but it's almost like a holdaway spot. Yeah, that's pretty much what Jordan Howard did. Maybe he's the guy they eventually add on their roster whenever they put Tyree Jackson on the IR, because they're going to do that. So they have that short-term IR spot. He's not going to be out for the year, but he's going to be out a couple of months. So that's how I'm looking at it. And, again, I think that's why teams were so quick to get guys back on their practice squads, was because of the IR spots and the COVID-19 spots and everything else. I think they told them, hey, look, this is the initial 53-man roster. No matter what happens. And then same for a lot of teams. Like, I was doing, like, the Cardinals depth chart this week, the Chargers depth chart, a bunch of depth charts for CBS Sports. And I'm looking at, wow, they got like 2 or 3 guys on reserve COVID-19, Josh. So what does that mean? Are these guys going to come back? Well, yeah, some of these guys are. So some of these guys are on the 53-man roster now. They may not be on the 53 come Saturday.
Yeah, I'm curious to find out, Jeff. Also, we mentioned, Tuesday was the first 53, right? But then there's not just this week. We know how he loves to make trades. Like, how much of having 7 linebackers and 10 offensive linemen is Howie just dangling this piece of cheese out in front of the league saying, hey, man, if someone gets injured, call me, bro.
Well, look at the Matt Lombardo report today. That they were looking to trade Dallas Goedert to the Minnesota Vikings. And it was going to be for a high draft pick. So, obviously, Minnesota went a different route. They figured, well, we can just get Chris Herndon to fill in for Ertz. So that was really the piece of cheese Howie Roseman was dangling. I think, and Zach Ertz basically confirmed Lombardo's report today because everything's bygones be bygones. Zach Ertz is all in and he wants to finish his career with the Eagles. And, that's when you got to wonder, okay, well, we have this franchise icon in Zach Ertz. If we can't sign Dallas Goedert, maybe we'll sign Zach Ertz. We'll trade Dallas Goedert for a high draft pick, and maybe we can use that to get somebody else in the mix. It's very possible. And I think Lombardo kind of said that might have been the extra leverage he would use to get Deshaun Watson. Okay. I just don't think that bridge is, I think that bridge is closed right now. I just look at it as he just doesn't want to come here. And look, I think they were pretty, and look, I know these guys lie to your face all the time, but they seemed pretty, look at me in the eye. Jalen Hurts is our quarterback.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that, when you go out and do the things you did with the roster, it's obvious this team is building at other positions that are way more focused than replacing or not replacing Jalen Hurts. Like you don't keep the group of receivers that you did if you weren't planning certain things, right? You don't keep all these offensive linemen if you don't look at last year and be like, we had 1 million injuries last year. We don't want to be caught red-handed again. So to me, the Eagles roster, in many ways, based on what Howie said yesterday and what the Eagles have done with the practice squad, is we are trying to ensure that whatever happened last year does not happen this year with this young quarterback.
Absolutely, 100%. And they are 10 deep offensive line. I mean, they were so deep in the offensive line. Matt Pryor probably would have made this team if they weren't as deep on the offensive line as they were. Everybody likes to get on Matt Pryor. Matt Pryor was worth a 6th-round pick. He was worth as much as Gardner Minshew was worth. So look at it that way. And the Colts needed somebody. And I'm sure the Eagles probably would have traded another lineman there too, but not. But getting Landon Dickerson back, that's huge for this football team. They're so deep in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. And everybody goes, okay, they only kept 5 receivers. I'm not surprised at that. But Zach Ertz is basically a 6th receiver for them. He really is. He's probably the 2nd or 3rd best wide receiver, definitely pass catcher on this team. So I look at it as J.J. Arcega-Whiteside definitely made the roster because of his special teams prowess. And I'll be honest, I think the last preseason game, it showed that, okay, maybe this guy has something. And we did invest a 2nd-round pick in him. Howie Roseman doesn't like to admit to his errors as quickly, but he does do it. I mean, look, they caught a bunch of 6th, 7th-round guys this year. It's just the nature of the beast. But, people were shocked out. Marlon, I can never pronounce his last name, the USC defensive tackle, made the 53. And I'm like, well, it's not really surprising considering they liked his development. He just wasn't the guy that stood out in camp. But again, it's certain players like him, Patrick Johnson, guys like that, they really like what they have at linebacker, at defensive line. They're not going to suffer a lot of injuries there. They covered their tracks with Steven Nelson signing this all season. I mean, really, if there is a concern on this football team, it is wide receiver because of the depth. It's not because of the players. It's because of the depth of wide receiver. If Jalen Reagor or Devonta Smith goes down, oh boy, are they in trouble.
Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, joining us here. He does every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on 97.3 ESPN at Jeff Kerr, CBS on Twitter. Speaking of CBS, you had a chance to talk to Tony Romo today of CBS. And Tony Romo, who's what's that?
And next week, too, I get to talk to him.
Oh, there you go. Well, the perks of being with CBS is you get the chance to get in touch with people that maybe the rest of us would never get a chance to maybe grab a hold of unless a very unique situation. And listen, Romo was very complimentary of the Eagles. And I thought that was very interesting because, Romo, everybody loves Romo on the broadcast, right? Romo's calling the plays before they happen. So what do the Eagle fans think the Eagles think now that Romo thinks, hey, they could be a surprise team?
It's funny, too, Josh. When I mentioned the Eagles to him, Tony always likes to have, this nonchalant thing, but he gets excited about stuff. He goes, I really get tired of people getting on Jeffrey Lurie. He runs one of the finest organizations in all of football. And he said, I know because I play them. And he said he really loves the Nick Sirianni hire. He thinks that's the perfect player development guy. He did call this year a transition year, but he said anything goes in the NFC East. And he said they got a lot of talent on that roster. And he wasn't as complimentary toward Jalen Hurts as he was toward Zach Wilson and other players I asked, Tua Tagovailoa, Josh Allen, Patrick, but he sees them more. He's not going to see Jalen Hurts as much. But he said, look, this guy has an opportunity to be a franchise quarterback, and everything I have seen, it looks like he's going to be that. He goes, and he basically says, well, we all know he's a leader. But he said he really likes Nick Sirianni's offense, how they're running. He's glad they patched up the Zach Ertz situation. He thinks that defense is going to be really, really good. This is just the basis of our conversation. I'm going to have all this out at CBS Sports later this week, but he really gave a lot of praise to Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman. He gave praise to Lurie for sticking with Roseman. He said, look, the guy's one of the better GMs in the National Football League. He won a Super Bowl. He said, I know Eagles fans like to get on him, but he said, I can tell you, there's a team down in Dallas that would take a GM like Howie Roseman. So, again, it's funny, just how the apple meets the eye. I guess Eagles fans look at it as, okay, Howie Roseman our GM for too long, and you got a guy like Tony Romo who is like me, knows a lot of people around the league and knows a lot of front offices around the league. Not everybody's going to be Brett Veach, not everybody's going to be like that. Brandon Beane, when Ozzie Newsome was GM in the Ravens, same thing. I forget who they're. Ozzie Newsome's still pretty much in charge.
It's Eric DaCosta now.
Yeah, it's Eric DaCosta. That's it. I knew it was Eric something, but yeah, it's the same thing. Like, and Romo, I'll tell you what, Josh, he had a lot of praise for the AFC East. He says that division is basically going to take over as the most dominant division in football. He's really high on the Patriots. He's high on the Dolphins. He thinks the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs. He thinks Patriots are going to be a team no one wants to play this year. He thinks Buffalo's going to be really good. He thinks the Jets are actually going to be half decent. He's right. I mean, if you look around, they all got franchise quarterbacks there. And I thought that was very intriguing. I didn't even get a chance to ask him about the Chiefs. I'm going to ask him about them and Tampa Bay and all that next week. But overall, and I want to get more of his thoughts on the NFC East because we basically just focused on the Eagles. But overall, he really, like he said, they're going to surprise some people. They're going to shock some people this year. And I think that holds a lot of merit because the guy knows his stuff. He really does. And he said they can go as far as Jalen Hurts takes them. So if he thinks they're going to shock some people without really giving Jalen Hurts a lot of complimentary, at least today, who knows? He said this team has the capability to win 10, 11 football games. So that's very telling.
What does it say to you that, again, there's another person who is complimentary of the owner and the GM and the coach, and inside the city, half the city hates these guys. Like it's. What does it say to you that the perception around the league of the Eagles is almost the opposite of what some of the fan base is?
And this is where I get tired of the whole national media don't know what they're talking about. I'm like, does the national media not know what we're talking about, or do you not know what you're talking about? Because you're looking through your midnight green lenses here. That's all you're looking at. You're not comparing yourself to a badly run organization like the New York Giants. You're not comparing yourself to the Los Angeles Chargers. Again, they're not a badly run organization right now because they got Justin Herbert, but they were for a long time. You're not comparing. You're always comparing things. Look, this is a city that wanted Andy Reid out of here, and I said that's a mistake. It is a mistake. I don't care if they're 4-12. I knew it was time, but it was a mistake, and I turned out to be right. I don't like to pat myself on the back for that, but Andy Reid's still a really good coach. He's only had 1 year where he's won less than 10 games since he left. That's pretty insane if you think about it, Josh. And, I just think everybody just looks at it through their team, and they only care about their team. But then when you get a guy like Tony Romo who's giving them compliments, and Jim Nantz was the same way, and look, they talk to these guys. They get the access I can't get because they are the faces of CBS Sports. They know. And look, they don't have to suck up to Howie Roseman. They don't. It's more of they don't know us anything as a broadcast partner. It's that just tells you what someone like Tony Romo thinks about an organization that he's pretty confident they're going to turn things around. And, that's what I want to ask him about last year because they did the Eagles-Packers game. They did the game Jalen Hurts came in. And we talked about a little bit at the Super Bowl, but not in depth. So I kind of want to know, what they thought about the Carson Wentz situation, how he's going to do in Indy. Why do you guys think – because by then, I remember, I didn't get a chance to talk to him that week leading up to the game. But I was really curious to think, are they going to bench Carson Wentz? What do you guys think? What do you guys think what's wrong with Carson Wentz? And during the Super Bowl when I interviewed him, that wasn't a thing. That who cared about the Eagles? We cared about the Chiefs and we cared about the Buccaneers. So it's going to be really interesting to just hear more of a national perspective from those guys. And look, I think Eagles fans should be, look, this guy's a cowboy. He's a cowboy. This isn't Michael Strahan, who always toots his horn for the Giants. Tony Romo doesn't toot his horn for the Cowboys a lot. He doesn't. But he's a big believer in Dak Prescott, which makes sense. He was his teammate, and he knows Dak's a leader. And, again, I think Dallas fans like to hear that. But it's true. And, Tony Romo is very honest. And that's the thing, Josh. I mean, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I just think Eagles fans look at one thing. It's always one thing. I think the only time Philly fan – and I think this is true too. Look at the Ben Simmons situation. I think people are overvaluing him. He's not worth as much as they think he's worth. It's the same thing with the Eagles. The Eagles probably overvalue Zach Ertz. The fans probably overvalue him. But around the league, I heard, look, they thought the third, fourth round pick was too high, but it ended up working well for Zach Ertz because he felt the Eagles valued him, and that's all that matters. And, yeah, it's just – they just look through one lens only and not seeing the big picture. There's 32 teams in the league, not just one.
Jeff, one more before I let you go, and I always appreciate you jumping on. The conversation came up today about Rookie of the Year, and somebody brought up earlier in the show that everyone's talking about the quarterbacks, right? But it was Devonta Smith who won the Heisman last year in college football. And, I decided to say, all right, let's look at the guys who have won the Heisman who are not quarterbacks. Because usually the busts in the NFL who are Heisman Trophy winners are quarterbacks, right? It's not usually the other players. So you got guys like Derrick Henry. He's a stud. Mark Ingram. Pretty darn good career overall when you think about it. Ron Dane was probably a disappointment. Ricky Williams wasn't for the marijuana thing. Probably goes to the Hall of Fame because he has over 10,000 rushing yards. And Charles Woodson's a Hall of Famer. Eddie George, a great career. So from 95 onward, these guys usually had pretty good careers. So, it's fair to say that Devonta Smith, as one person texted, they're not trying to jinx it, but listen, he won the Heisman Trophy, and so far it's been a pretty good indication of NFL talent outside of quarterback position.
Yeah, you're right. And again, Rookie of the Year is such a quarterback-driven award. If Trevor Lawrence throws for 35 touchdowns, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year because he broke the rookie record for touchdowns. It's just the way it is. But I'll tell you what, you look at and you pointed out, I was going to point out Charles Woodson, but you beat me to the punch. Same with Eddie George. Eddie George had over 10,000 rushing yards in his career. He was a stud for the Tennessee Titans for a lot of years. And yeah, I have no doubt Devonta Smith is going to be a really good football player in the National Football League. He's already an excellent router. I watch a lot of old Eagles games, Josh. I don't think I've seen a route runner as good as Devonta Smith since Irving Fryer. And Irving Fryer with the Eagles was pretty good. Yeah, there's a couple years. With the quarterbacks he had, he was really, really good. So if you can get like Irving Fryer's 12, 1300-yard production out of Devonta Smith in years 1 and 2, you're taking that any step of the way. And look, I think putting a bar on him like a Justin Jefferson leap is much, because Justin Jefferson was just unbelievably out of this world in 2020. But it is fair to think Devonta Smith can get 1,000 yards in this offense, especially with the way Nick Sirianni's going to set him up with the short passing game. I'll tell you what, Josh, you're going to see a lot of yards after the catch. You're going to see a lot of receptions out of him, and you're going to see him make some big plays. Again, I see an Isaac Bruce. I see a Marvin Harrison in this guy. It's going to be fun to watch. And this is another question I want to ask Romo next week. Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. Who's going to be the best one this year? Because I'm curious. It's, and he's going to see two of them a lot. And maybe if he does an Eagles game, Devonta Smith, I know he's watched all three. But I'm curious to see, because it's funny how Smith was the last one of them drafted. Usually that works out for the team who ended up picking them last. So, I think Devonta Smith's going to have a really good career here.
Jeff Kerr, CBS on Twitter. Check out all of his work over at CBS Sports. Covers the Eagles in the NFL with us here on 97.3 ESPN. Joins us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which means, Jeff, we will see you for Football Friday this week here on 97.3 ESPN.
Yeah, hopefully I get to see Shang-Chi before I come on here, because then I can be like, oh, look what I saw, Josh. Look what I saw, Mike. I got to watch this before you guys did, if you're Marvel fans, of course.
Well, first of all, I'm a Marvel fan and I'm a movie fan. Gil doesn't really watch movies. So.
Oh, what a bummer.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you say that really quick before I let you go, because we got to hit the break. But the movie topic came up earlier because I was talking with Jason Fitz from ESPN Radio, and he's a big movie junkie like I am. And I said, Jay, I'm a huge Marvel fan, but my only concern is the two best movies I saw this year were not Black Widow. It was The Protégé with Maggie Q, which was incredible, and Cruella, which totally blew me away.
Cruella was my favorite movie this year. I agree with you on that one. Cruella was fantastic. The Protégé, I like. Maggie Q is an excellent actress, by the way. I'll tell you what is another good one. And again, it's more of a family movie, but I enjoyed it. Jungle Cruise. That actually was pretty good.
That was one I did not see because my policy has been, if it's on Disney Premiere, I refuse to pay the money, because the cost of Disney Premiere Plus is the cost of 2 movie tickets and a medium popcorn.
So I have AMC Stubbs A-List, so I get to see three free movies a week.
Okay.
So that's what I did, and I actually saw twice. There's a lot of movies I've seen twice because they're not coming out at the pace that they usually do in the summer. That's going to be in the fall. So obviously, I'm going to get the bang for my $21 a month.
There you go. That's a good deal for you. So yeah, I will see Shang-Chi on Sunday. Okay. That's when I'm going to see it, because my usual I do is I watch movies when I'm not watching football games. That's kind of like my thing. So like, I'll watch Shang-Chi at a movie time that will be done in time for the Notre Dame football game on Sunday.
There you go.
You know, or like during the fall, it's like, I know that there's a MAC game I don't care about, so I'll go watch it like on a Wednesday night kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, you got to get some of that action. You always got to get action. That's part of lifestyle if you're a football junkie.
For me, I love football, but action is something that I watch while I'm at the gym. So I'm not like 100% focused in, whereas I might be for like on Saturday, Clemson, Georgia kind of thing.
Before I go, this is what I tell people. As much as I love football, I try not to oversaturate myself with it, because if I hate it by Friday, that's not a good sign. I cannot hate football. So I do try to stay away from like Thursday night college football. Thursday night football, the NFL, I'm all pumped up to watch. Right. So I try to stay away from some Tuesday, Wednesday games because of that.
Also, you're in TAN Fantasy Football League, so.
That is true. I'm in way too many. By the way, we're in the middle of drafting and we get 18 hours to pick at CBS. I literally wait till like 17 hours and 30 minutes just to tick everybody off. Because they're like, why don't you just pick? I'm like, pick Derrick Henry. I'm like, how do you know I'm going to pick him? Pick Miles Sanders. How do you know I'm going to pick him? Because we know you. That's what you're going to pick. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And I just wait. I just make them wait. It's fun. The draft goes more to the week because of me.
All right, Jeff. We'll talk Friday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Josh.